we're getting into it here, Z. We have the Russian draft eligibles here on our first edition of a true Judd'z Comrades episode. Top 10 list for draft eligibles in 2024. I'm going to pull up the share here, but again, for everyone, Z will take you through each of these prospects. And more importantly, he has a tier listed here, and that is his personal draft tier, where he would take them, what position overall, not a consensus or anything representative of what scouts widely believe. We're giving you the actual answer.
Jesus.
Here we go. Z, first one, and this is a guy you've talked about a lot. Time to gush. We've got Ivan Demidov.
Ivan Demidov is one of, if not the most enjoyable players to watch in this draft. The high-end plays that he makes literally every single time he steps on the ice. And by the way, these stats are already out of date again. Shocking. I think he scored the day after I sent you this, and he scored an absolute fucking howitzer today. Slap shot from the slot, top quarter, no chance for the goalie. He, offensively, the definition of a game breaker. And every time he touches the puck, he wants to make a difference. He wants to make a highlight reel play. I've said this about a lot of top prospects. You want to talk about someone that goes Sports Center top 10 mode. Ivan Demidov is the poster child. The shit that he's able to do, the space he's able to manipulate with the puck, even just taking the puck off the wall, every time, I don't know how he does it, but he dances and slips through three different defensemen. Either will put it top shelf from the below the dot, no angle, or he will just put it on the tape for someone else. Elite playmaker. He's got a phenomenal shot, and he's useful defensively as well. He's he's not a guy that doesn't look to at least try in the defensive zone. More than that, he is a solid defensive forward. In terms of raw upside, I still put Celebrini in his own class, but Demidov is knocking on that door, and he honestly, in terms of just raw talent and upside, he might be pretty close, or just at least close to being on par with that upside. I think Celebrini is elite at literally everything, but Ivan Demidov is fucking unbelievable. So for me, it's an easy number 2. I put the tiers 2 to 4 because there's plenty of people who want to put the defenseman with this much upside. Anton Silayev, who will come up in a little bit, 6'7" elite skater. Artem Levshunov, we talked about last week, a big right shot D-man who is elite in his own right, just in terms of offensive upside. There's plenty of other guys who people want to, just because I think it's probably some positional bias as well. But sure. Ivan Demidov, for me, it's easy number 2. And another tier, what he's doing in the Russian Junior League this year it's a joke. I think he went on a 6-game streak last month, where I think every game he had at least 4 points. It was just lighting it up. And there's a couple of guys on his team that are going to be in this top 10. He is padding their stats. He is padding their stats. The shit he's doing this year, I've liked it more than I enjoyed watching Michkov. It's that level of upside, because he's got way more tools in his bag that he's elite at versus Michkov. Michkov is just ridiculous scoring, but Demidov gives you a little bit of everything. And he is just absolutely elite. So for me, firm number 2.
Now, I don't know. I don't think this is racist, but whatever. He looks a lot like a Kaprizov in this photo. That's just a bonus point. But John Robinson, where will Demidov go in draft? Can we trade up? LOL. And to that point, Z, I know you mentioned that defensemen being heavy in this draft and that being a big need for a lot of teams. Sure, he could slide for that, but is the Russia factor a thing at all?
No,
is that something that's going to hurt his draft stock in any way?
No, I mean, I think at this point, I've probably got at least 4 that are. I would be shocked if they didn't go first round. I think the Russian factor is over. The big thing with the Russian factor with Michkov was the fact that he was signed for like 7
a 10-year contract. Yeah.
yeah.
But so, what is the lowest you can conceivably see Demidov going?
5. I think he will go either 4 or 5. Like, I do think teams will, because both Levshunov and Silayev are big, incredibly mobile, high upside D-men. I think we'll talk about him in a second, but I think the Silayev thing is a mistake taking him that high, even though he's got all the tools in the world. I understand the Levshunov thing, but I've got a whole lot of concerns about whether or not he's going to be able to like do all of the things that he's very good at and make him an elite prospect. I have my own concerns about just like bringing that to the NHL level with the limitations that come with it. But I think I would see both of those guys going before Demidov. But if you do take those 2 before him, you can't justify passing on Demidov at 4. Like, you just can't. Like, he is outrageous.
Okay. I'm sold. I don't know what else to say there. Let's then crank along to number 2 on Z's Russian big board. We've got Nikita Artamonov.
Artamonov, there you go. Yeah.
Artamonov.
Probably a bit rich,
but okay.
probably a bit rich here. And this is a guy we haven't talked about before. I did do this fresh off of our Smart Scouting mid-year top 64. I think we ended up doing like 75 for 2024. We just did our rank call. But the thing with Artamonov is like, he's flashed. Like, first of all, he started in the KHL this year and did not even sniff going back down to the junior leagues. He is in their top 6. And the thing with him is like, yeah, those stats don't necessarily jump off the page. The fact that he's 17 years old and he's playing like 18, 19 minutes a night in the KHL on Torpedo, who they were at one point, they were best team in the KHL for like 2 months or something. Plays a lot with First Off, fun fact. So I had to bump the stats there. But he has legit game-breaking ability. There are times that he legitimately just takes the puck and will break ankles. He's got a phenomenal shot. Like, he's got game-breaking ability. Like, he just looks like whenever Kaprizov gets bored, he's like, all right, fuck this. I'm not passing anybody, and just decides to do it himself. Like, there have been times in games that Artamonov has done that with Torpedo. Like, oh, shit. Like, so I don't think he's going to be a guy that necessarily drives play per se, but there's going to be times where, like, if nothing's going for you, just give the puck to Nikita Artamonov, and he will absolutely break the game wide open for you. So just the game-breaking ability and the fact that he's doing it in the KHL at 17 years old is insanely impressive. So that's why I threw him at 2. I could see, like, I like him anywhere from 10 to 20. I think he will go probably after 20. There's no way he gets out of the first round just because how, like, his top end skill is outrageous, his scoring ability and the fact that he can take over games at times. There's no way he doesn't go in the first round. I think we ended up putting him 10 in our rankings, but I would be shocked if he doesn't end up as a top 6 winger at the NHL level. Like, he's going to score. And just the fact that at times he has the ability to take over games, I put him as a second coming out of Russia in the tier from 10 to 20.
Which is caught me by surprise, partially because I just wasn't even familiar with Nikita, but more so because everyone is losing their mind over the big fucking Russian. We've got Anton Silayev.
Yeah. So I was trying to so first of all, okay. Anton Silayev, he's been for a lot of like Bob McKenzie had him 2. There have been plenty of other like public scouting, whatever, like groups or whatever that have him 2. the thing is, he is a 6'7", 210-pound elite skating. That's the thing. Not just good for his size. He is a high-end skater. Like forwards, backwards, doesn't matter. He's got good speed. And he flashes like legit offensive upside. I want to say a bulk of his points did come in the first like 15 games of the year. Like he definitely, as time went on this season, like dropped off offensively, but he does have those skills. So he's got all the tools in the world. I just have big questions about like the hockey sense defensively, and like as good as he is with like skating, like you put any speedy winger against him that is going to want to beat him wide, it's going to be tough. Number one, because he's so fucking big, but the fact that he is such a good skater, like he will easily keep up with you. I just feel like in terms of reading the other team's offense and like where the puck's going, like he's very reactive every time I watch him. And I just don't know if he really has done anything differently or grown like any part of his game compared to like where he was last 2 years. This year, he just like was getting results this time. So I really haven't seen the progression in terms of like the raw skills. It's just like he ended up getting rewarded a few more times, but you can't deny 6'7" elite skater who like is good enough defensively, but I just question like how he reads the play, can be pretty reactive. I think you can work with him for sure, but I would say I'm much more comfortable taking him. I put the tier 12 to 20 just because I think there are other players with similar upside, but significantly more safe. Like he could be maybe not boom or bust, because I think at the very least you could easily get a reliable two-way third pair guy. Like you don't want him going up against the top guys, but he can hold his own and he can play and like defends well enough and gives you some offensive options. But I'm just more comfortable in the 12 to 20 range, which is still excellent. That's a very high pick.
Right.
So
Well,
it's not like I'm totally shitting on the kid, but I just get so nervous, especially with like the crazy hype this year.
That's
Like,
the thing for me, dude.
hype.
Like it's really fascinating now that we've done a like couple seasons of this to see you earlier this year, like kind of end of the summer, be like, hey, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I would take him at 12 when he was like a late first at best at the time. And now everyone's like, oh yeah, he's number 2 behind Celebrini. Because I mean, look at him. And it's just like such a dramatic shift. And again, you're just holding strong. Like, yeah, 12, I'm okay. But that's where I'm drawing the line.
Yeah. I mean, if you're taking him number 2 overall, you're heavily betting that he's going to be a number 1 defenseman. I can't see him as a number 1 D man.
Or your Arizona.
Yeah, well, those 2 Russians they took last year are fucking incredible. I love their picks. So whatever.
What is it in Letterkenny? BFIs, big fucking engine. This guy's a BFR, big fucking Russian.
Yeah. But I do think
hang on. If they were the same class, who would you rather have, Simashev or Silayev?
Oh, give me Simashev. Simashev for sure. Simashev is like he's not 6'7". He's not 6'7". I think he's 6'4", 6'5". Another elite guy. He's a better skater, honestly, even than Silayev. And he's already an elite defensive defenseman. And he flashes a ton of offensive upside too. He just doesn't always work out. But I would take Simashev in a heartbeat for sure.
There's some French.
I might be
telling me the opposite. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Oh man. All right. There's Anton Silayev. Now we're going on to number 4 on Z's big board, Igor Chernishov.
Yeah, I love Chernishov. Like all around centerman, might be more of a wing at the NHL level, but I think depending on where he lands, he could absolutely play a center. He's obviously got the size because he's not 5'11". But he flashes some top end skill. I do have questions about like how much of that's going to translate to the NHL, just because it's not as frequent, not as consistent that he flashes that skill every game. Like there have been a couple unbelievable goals that he's scored, where he's just it's a solo, like takes the puck at like a stance on the neutral zone, and then somehow finds his way into the offensive zone, slips some dudes, goes I could just shelf. But like just a solid all around centerman so far in Russia. He played a good amount in the KHL. He probably could have played. I thought he played well enough to stay there, but ended up going back and forth. Right now, he is playing with them in the playoffs, the KHL team, and he's kind of getting the year off treatment. Like some games, they like give him 6 minutes. Other games, like you just have a seat button, you watch. But I like the upside there. Again, the fact that he's so well rounded, it can play every position, like center, both wings, doesn't matter. Brings you defensive value as well. And he does flash that occasional top end skill. So I think you just get a little bit of everything with Igor Chernishov. I still think there's more offensive upside that he's shown this year. I mean, decent numbers in the MHL, in the Russian Junior League, just over a point per game. And there have been a couple of games that I've watched him in the MHL where he also shows the ability to take over a game. I just think you're getting a really solid middle six forward that can contribute offensively at a decent clip, but bring you some like decent defensive value as well. So I like him a lot. I meant to change that tier to like 18 to 25, but it is what it is. Like him a lot. I'm very curious to see where he goes because I think anyone that's like picking in the mid 20s, if he's sitting there, you're very happy because he can give you again just like a little bit of everything. Kind of like one of those jack of all trades players. So yeah, I love Chernishov a lot.
No further questions. Number 5, Matvey Shuravin, which this is a guy that until I reminded you last minute that you definitely didn't fill in everything you needed to on our shared document. This guy came out of nowhere. He wasn't even on the list. And now all of a sudden he's 5. So please divulge.
He is going to be, so he's, of all the guys on this list, Shuravin's by far the one I'm most interested in seeing where he ends up. In terms of like what pick, because I mean, you could absolutely talk yourself into taking him in the first round. He's actually, and I should, as I was going through some of the other notes I had on Shuravin before, I forgot he gave an interview like in the past month. He grew, so he's now 6'4", like 185. Fun fact: his dad coaches like the Russian women's volleyball team, and he's 6'6". So like, he's got some decent genes in him.
Look at the neck. Look at the neck on there, guys.
Yeah. Fuck it. But this is a fucking big boy, and he is another big, high-end skate. Like his skating ability is ridiculous. He profiles right now as like a solid defensive defenseman. It's been a really weird year for him. And I should have updated those KHL stats because he actually scored and became the youngest player in, I think it's CSKA Moscow's like history to score a goal in the KHL. I think he scored like his 3rd game or so. So I don't know why those stats, I didn't update that correctly, but whatever. But in the MHL, he's been up and down in terms of just like what he's or how he's playing. But at his best, he has the skill. He's got transition, or like solid transition potential. Like it's just been hit or miss, but he looks like a premier 2-way D-man. He can also play right and lefty like easily, but he is a solid all-around defenseman, 2-way defenseman. And I know there are plenty of people who put him in their first round. Like I think actually at SpokedZ we put him at 30. Just because he does have that, like the stats don't show it obviously this year. We're gonna say the same thing about like Silayev last year, not comparing them, but just sometimes people read the stat line, they're like, what he has like 8 points. Like I cannot possibly, he can't flash on the offense, but he does have the skill. He's shown that he can be a really good transition defenseman, both offensively and defensively. And he's got already like the defensive side of the game down packed. Like he is a solid defender. So I think there's legit upside here. I think a team will be very happy to take him either late in the first round or early in the second potentially. I put 40 to 50 just because I want to see more consistency with like the offensive upside. But either way, the fact that he's also grown like this year, like 2 inch, like not just like half an inch, like 2 fucking inches and like 15 pounds. Like he's a beast. So like him a lot. Very curious to see. Like these are the Russians that are projected to go either like late first or beyond. I'm always curious to see like which teams actually invest a lot in like scouting in Russia. Carolina by far is the best because they've taken every single one of my favorite Russians the past 3 years. It's driving me fucking insane. So I'm sure he's going to end up being a Hurricane. So that sucks.
Yeah,
but I would definitely, again, like I said before, this is the player out of Russia that I'm the most interested in seeing how high he goes because like there's legit upside with just like this profile of a player. So I like him a lot for sure. And I can't believe I didn't initially put him on the list. I don't know how I missed that.
For Shuravin. And every every inch he grows just bumps him 5 in the tiers.
Yeah, exactly.
I am gonna pee my pants, so I'm gonna tee you up here for number 6 and then run and do that. Number 6. Is it Igor Shurin? What do we got?
Egor Surin. Yeah.
Surin.
Right. Yeah. So we've got another forward here for Loco. Very entertaining player at this point. You'll look at his stat line. He's over a point per game, 42 games this year in the MHL. He's got 22 goals, 30 assists, and 52 points. He's a plus 35, and he has 108 penalty minutes. He is the definition of a piece of shit to play against. He loves getting in the mix, stirring it up, and he's not just going to like stir the pot and then like skate away. He is stirring the pot, hoping his teammates join him, and then if not, he will just absolutely continue on and try to fight everybody on the ice. Love him a lot. But when he's actually just playing and not focusing on just like being a prick on the ice, he is a really, really solid two-way forward with legit upside offensively. Like he's got some nice hands, especially in tight. A lot of his goals just come from right around the crease area. Again, because of how physically inclined he is, he will absolutely not be afraid to score from in front of the net, get the mix, like not afraid of getting cross-checked net front. And defensively, he's solid as well. So another just well-rounded two-way forward. He's going to have to like rein it in a little bit with just like the raw aggression. Hoppy had just came back. I was just saying, you'll read his stat line, 52 points in 42 games and 108 penalty minutes because he is an absolute piece of shit to play against. He will have to rein that in a little bit because like at some point he's going to just pick the wrong guy and they will have their way. But when he is just focused on playing and like still being physical, he gives you solid two-way value. Like I was just mentioning, really solid hands, especially in tight. That's where a lot of his goals come from. He's a good passer as well. Gives you defensive value. So a well-rounded player that's definitely, like I said, going to have to rein in a little bit. But I think he's got a chance to go mid to late second round, potentially even higher because like he does flash that skill. So very intrigued by Sir. I think he's a no doubt will be playing in the NHL at some point and will have a solid career. Like at this point, especially in these rankings, you're kind of betting like, all right, is he going to be like a regular NHLer? Okay. That's kind of like where you're at once you get to like this point in this ranking anyway. I think he'll be a real solid middle six guy. Again, piece of shit to play against, has some upside offensively, gives you two-way value. So like him a lot, just has to rein in a little bit. And I'm curious to see where he goes.
Agree with everything you said.
Love that.
Number 7, definitely an all-name team consideration for me. Egor Graf.
Yes. Really, really like Egor Graf. Like the definition of, and in terms of like the Russians that are going, it's like him and Chernishov that I like the most, the definition of a reliable two-way forward. Whether or not he plays center or wing, I'm not really concerned about. I think this is another guy that will absolutely be an NHL player and kind of just fills whatever need, like in a game, like not just like, all right, what do we need on this team? It's just like in game, like, all right, we need like a big face-off win, or we need to like preserve a 1-goal lead, or you're chasing a lead, like you just throw him on the ice. Like he is such a reliable two-way center. And again, sneaky skill that, because like his role primarily everywhere he's been has just been like what the coach is like, all right, what do I need right now? I throw Graf on the ice. But he does flash like some top end skill, again, especially net front, that give him some offensive upside. He just doesn't really use it as often as he possibly could. So I think there's like decent enough upside. I think he'll be a really solid two-way middle six guy. Doesn't have like the fucking piss and vinegar as my boy Shurin over there, but a quiet, reliable two-way forward, like him a lot. And again, he does flash some like legit top end skill. So I had to throw him in here. Couldn't put him above. Shurin just has the extra fucking like fuck you and probably a little bit more offensive upside. So I put him over Graf, but I'd like to see him go mid to late second round. Probably more late second round. But yeah, no, a solid player, and like plays with Demidov every so often. And then sometimes they have to like balance out the line. So they just throw him on the ice when Demidov's not in there. It's like, all right, just fucking take care of the rest of this shit for us. We got Demidov going. I don't know if you just muted yourself, but I can't hear you.
Number 8, Nikita Silayev.
Yeah, an interesting player, like really flashy. He fucking flies on the ice. A really good skater. He's got top end skill. My only concern with him in terms of like whether or not he's going to be able to make it to the NHL and then score in the NHL at a consistent level is just like he can be such a passenger. So he is firmly on Demidov's line. And when I tell you that Demidov's probably fed him like 15 to 20 of his 25 goals, there was one game recently, like I think maybe back in February, that he had a hat trick. All 3 goals were Demidov dicing 4 of the opposition and putting the puck like wide open net on his tape. So that being said, like, again, very skilled player. He's a great skater. I think he does read the defense fairly well. So like he can score goals from like he's got a good shot. I just worry about whether or not he's going to be able to create any offense himself or whether he's going to be very reliant on his teammates. So, stat line's nice, 58 points in 52 games. But I just have my concerns about like, is he going to be able to actually, because like, I mean, scoring in Russia is what it is, but how much you actually creating yourself, like defensively, he will give you like almost 0 value. Doesn't really care about playing defense. In his defense, though, like Ska, that junior team, like they don't really play a whole bunch of they don't have to. It's not very often that they've got the puck in their own zone, so maybe he's great. I don't know. But I put him here because I feel I would not be comfortable taking him earlier than the 3rd round, but he does flash legit offensive upside in terms of skill, the shot, and the scoring ability. So definitely had to make the top 10, but for me, probably 3rd, probably even 4th round pick. You're just like taking a swing on upside.
Don't hate that. All right. Going on to number 9. We've got Roman Lutsev.
Yeah. This one was I struggled if I wanted to put Lutsev in the top 10. He has very average, moderate skill and offensive upside. He is a solid defensive forward. Is that going to be enough to make him a regular NHL guy? I don't know. But he is like legit already, like he approaches the game from a defensive standpoint at an NHL level. Like at times looks like a Nick Bonino almost. I don't think that's necessarily like how high his upside is, but the mold of a Nick Bonino where you can like rely on him, like if you're preserving a late lead or you just need like a big face-off win, he can give that to you. And he does flash the offensive upside at times, not consistently at all. But every once in a while you're watching and he will like primarily playmaking for other, like he doesn't create offense for himself, but he can he flashes playmaking ability and like will put a couple pucks on a tee for someone else right in front of that. But I would say his impact primarily comes on the defensive side of the game. So a late round pick for sure. But I mean, there's a player in there. He'll definitely have to grow. He's a 154. He is not big. But I don't know. I think he's a solid defensive forward. Again, flashes some offense, not there consistently, but if you want to take a late swing on a guy that could potentially like be a bit of a project, not a bad player to take a swing on like late rounds. So I threw him in there.
For him to really be a Nick Bonino comparable, though, do you think this guy is as tuned up on his prank game?
Yeah, that's going to be tough to top. That's going to be. I'll ask him. I'll give him a call.
Dude, I'm sure Halloween party one was just elite.
It's insane.
So
hey, it's incredible. The Seeker, like, oh my god, unreal.
So good. All right, moving on to number 10 in the Russian draft eligibles for 2024 top 10 list. We've got Ilya Pautov.
Yeah. So
I literally could not find a single image for. So this is what we got.
Yeah. This is a guy you're taking a late round pick, but you're taking a swing on the offensive upside because he's got ridiculous hands. The shot isn't anything to write home about, but like the playmaking ability is legit. Like he is very fun to watch in the MHL, the Russian Junior League. Insane hands, skill, playmaking ability is legit. Is it going to be enough to bring it to the NHL level? I don't know. But in terms of like the offensive upside and just like the pure flash and the ability that he does have, like the skill is just his hands it's a joke. It's really fun to watch, and he can fucking fly. Like he's a phenomenal skater. Like he is fast. Like he probably in this list, he might be the fastest skater in this list, but definitely a long-term project, and you're taking a big swing on the upside. If you take it the late round, it's not a big swing, but like he will definitely have to grow. I was shocked when I found out he's 183 pounds. Like he's the guy that like when he's gliding slowly on the ice, his jersey's still flapping because it's too big. He's one of those. He's just like this. We don't have a fucking jersey that fits him.
Goalie jersey.
Yeah. He looks like a fucking goalie jersey, but ridiculous hands, solid playmaker, really good passing the offensive zone. He's at least engaged defensively. Like, I mean, he's not going to be winning any Selkies, but he tries. So I appreciate the effort at least. Like he's not just like cherry picking at the his own blue line. But I threw him in the top 10 just because he does have some legit upside offensively, and he's really fun to watch. So I threw him in there. He's probably I put again like at this point put 75 plus because that's firmly fourth round to be on. He's probably more like you take a swing in like the fifth, sixth round. And long-term project, you never know. Some of those guys end up hitting. But he's just really fun to watch, so I just had to throw him in the top 10.
Did it. Got through it. You have a couple of honorable mentions here. I don't know where you want to go with them, but solid options.
Yeah, we could bring them up. Let me see.
I mean, I can read names if that helps.
Yeah, that'll help.
Oh, Jesus. Maybe it won't. These are crazy names.
Yeah, I know.
Arsen Timazov.
This guy is going to be interesting. Like, I think a late round pick. Massive 6'4" right shot defenseman. Already an elite defender. There's pretty big questions in the rest of his game, but like he's also shown some big time progression this year, especially in his offensive game, especially like in transition. But I'm curious to see if the offense is just like a flash. I mean, his stat line is pretty minimal, but like, he's at least shown some offensive ability. But his big time calling card is a 6'4" right shot defenseman who fucking like is a elite defender. So I think he will get drafted probably 6th round or so. Who knows? Maybe someone sees 6'4" and gets excited and it takes a swing earlier. But and I think this is pretty much the theme for like the honorable mentions here. He is a massive mobile defenseman who has at least flashed some offensive ability, but like defending is a major strength for him, and he already does it at such a solid level. So had to throw him in there. Another great name. His first name's Arson. That's ridiculous. That's just
right.
That could be a problem.
It could.
Fuck, go to jail. Could go to jail.
The next guy though that you had listed. First off, you say how big they are. Yeah, he's 6'2", but he is 159 pounds. Holy shit. Alexander Suryatsky, and I don't care if that's how it's pronounced or not. That's how I'm going to say it, and it's the best last name that we've come across in all of these reviews. Suryatsky. That is the most like bougie, pompous name you could come up with. It might as well be Alexander Caviar.
Oh yeah, fucking right. Another guy. That'd be incredible. We need one of them to pop up before the day that we get a last name Caviar. Then that's when we'll retire this pod. It'll be over. That'll be it. So he's an interesting one. His stock's definitely rising. Like another, I mean, I guess you can't say big, but tall. I don't know. That's easier. Mobile D-man. He was easily logging probably close to 25, 26 minutes all season in the MHL, the Russian Junior League. Got called up to the KHL, played a couple games. Didn't get big minutes, but was already showing like legit defensive upside. Like he's an incredible defender. There's definitely limitations with the upside. Like he's never going to bring you a ton of offense, but if he can at least facilitate in transition and the fact that he can be like a legit shutdown defenseman that has that mobility and can log big time minutes, I think in another late round swing, like you might end up with a real solid player. And like he's been really, really fucking good this year. So had to throw the honorable mentions, but and probably could have snuck him in over maybe like Lutsev potentially, just because as much as I like Lutsev, there's even bigger like limitations to like the ceiling there because he is such a defensive forward. But yeah, Lutsev, no, Suryatsky's definitely an interesting one for sure.
Why is it Lutsev that he's gonna bump? Why not Pautov?
Pautov's got the upside with the offense. Like it's just I don't know if it'll actually end up ever translating.
Why is he 10 instead of 9?
Because Lutsev brings you like that game will at least translate. You're taking it's a bigger bet. The upside's bigger. It's a bigger bet on a guy like Pautov, so that's why. And I think if we had done this like 2-3 weeks later, I probably would have put Suryatsky somewhere in that 10. Over again, probably, so for being honest with you.
I need that to be a 6th round pick for the Wild. I love the name.
It's a great player, man. I think he's got some like his defending is just I don't know. Like it was great. Like he only played the couple games that he played in the KHL. Like I only know because it was Metalurg. So just with Europe. So but like he looked like he had been playing in the KHL for like the whole season, but it was his first couple games, and he was just already showing how solid he is defensively and how well he reads the game just in general. So I think he would be a solid late round pick for sure because I think you can continue working with him as well. But yeah.
Nice. Last one we have on here is Timur Cole.
Yeah. So this will be an interesting one too. So he's a big motherfucker. Shocking.
BFR.
6'3". Yeah, BFR, big fucking Russian. 6'3", 200 pounds. elite skater, and he is like his hockey sense is just elite. Again, flashes some offensive upside at times, but his big calling card is how solid he is defensively. He also graduated to the VHL, which is like the Russian AHL this year. And I think he's been averaging close to 20 minutes a night in that league. But this year, especially, he's flashed some occasional offensive upside that we haven't seen before. And a lot of that just comes from his skating ability. Like, not just in transition, but he can also like walk a blue line too. So I think there's upside there. I'll be curious to see. There have been ups and downs all year. The one thing that stayed consistent is his defending. So another guy, like, the stats don't necessarily jump off the page, but the fact that he's already playing against like men in Russia in the VHL and like shutting them down defensively, and again the fact that he is that big and skates that well, definitely worth at least a late round flyer. So I threw him on the list as an honorable mention. I would imagine he gets taken late, just given the fact that he's that big, skates that well. So I threw him on the list.
Well, that's the end of the list. Did it?
That'll do it. Made it through it.